I honestly don't know how much worse Berserk can get. Guts' sword's massive, it's like this but bigger. What a brutal life Guts has lived. Today I'm reading volumes 10, 11 and 12 of Berserk. There's going to be no skipping ahead, I'm not going to be looking for any spoilers, and I've got absolutely no idea what I'm getting myself into. Right then, let's get into it. Bloody hell, I've rate missed this series. I didn't realise how much I'd missed it until I opened the first page and was reunited with Guts and Casca. So that's where I left off at the end of volume 9, where Casca and Guts, I think, had fell down this like big rock cliff thing, and they were talking about their histories and their past and their origin story. It made me fall in love with both of them. I understood why they were both the way that they were. They were heartbreaking, but I just love them both, and I really wanted them to make some sexy time and have some little soldier babies with massive swords and just go around poking things with these swords. And I didn't think I'd get it. I kind of chucked it into windows of hope, and it seems like they have just had some sexy time. They're at least naked and doing some sort of cuddling activity. She spoke about him being like rough and asking if it was his first time, so I think they have had some sex, which is marvellous because then they can have some babies. However, I have seen all the comments online about how heart-wrenching and just horrible this series is, and I'm hoping that Casca's not going to do me dirty. I'm hoping she's not going to betray my Guts and break his heart. I'm expecting something's going to come. I'm not going to get an happy ending in this series. I know that, but I am hoping that there might at least be more to this romance story than just a bit of fondling in the woods. I also forgot how good the art was. I think when I first started reading this series, I was new to manga. It was literally my first series I'd ever started, and I'd said that the art felt a little bit congested and just felt like there's a lot there. Since I've now read like 30 volumes of different manga and stuff, I fully appreciate this for what it is. It's a masterpiece of art. I'm not really good at drawing or anything myself, so I think I was blindly commenting on something I didn't really know about. There is just so much detail within this piece of art, and I feel like it helps you really get immersed into the story. Having read some other things, like I've read a bit of Chainsaw Man and stuff, love the story, but the art is quite simplistic. This art is like just insane. So this bit that I've just read is the stuff that I love about this series, and it's stuff that I never hear anyone talking about. It is Guts's constant fight with his attachment to the sword and whether his worth comes down to just being a swordsman. He is currently with a blacksmith called Hojo, something like that. I've been spending a lot of time on each page. I've been on the first 10 pages for like 10 minutes just going over backwards and forwards because I don't want to rush this. The experience that I've had so far with this has been phenomenal, and I'm never going to get this chance again, so I'm really taking my time. Godo, close, there's 4 letters in it and there's an O in it. So he's talking to this blacksmith about why he is a blacksmith. And the blacksmith goes on to say, I've been striking the iron since I was born. Just like folks who live don't know why they're alive, I don't know why I keep hammering. And you can see that Guts is having this internal thought as he describes basically his own life, but the blacksmith has been given a hammer and Guts has been given a sword. And then he starts having these inner thoughts about how every single moment that he's gone through in life, the sword's been there for him. He says, with this, I've kept myself alive through more moments than I can count, because this was there. I once again threw myself into the jaws of death. Almost the entire time I've been alive, this was next to me as part of my body. When I lost Gambino, when I met Griffith in the Band of the Hawk, and when I parted with them, Zod the Immortal, suffering I shouldn't have been able to bear, and moments I could sense death, I came through it all because of this. Unforgettable things, unforgettable people, and all of it at the tip of the sword. I get the feeling I've done it all by grasping the hilt in my hand. He is just such a lost man who's just trying to find more meaning to his life than just swinging swords and killing folk. And I think it's remarkable. People always talk about Berserk and about the art and the battle scenes and how just epic everything is. But for me, there's just so many moments in the story like this that just get rushed over, and it's what makes me, or is what's made me so far, just fall in love truly with this series. I think it's unbelievable, class, wicked, insane. What a line this is. After what we've just spoke about, he continues speaking about his sword, and he says, actually, compared to what my hand has touched, my sword has touched 1,000 times more. Dude's just killing people, but he's letting no one close. No one's touching me. You are not going to be intimate with me. You're not going to touch my skin. You're not going to feel me. No hand to hand, no hand to skin. But I'll chop you up, no problem at all. What a brutal life Guts has lived. I don't think this bit that I have just read is meant to be funny, but I thought it was hilarious. So Guts has gone on this heroic speech thing when he's talking to Casca about how he's never going to live anyone else's dream again. He wants to go on and do his own thing, which I think is quite heroic of him. And Casca just starts laughing at him. She's like, you're mental. This is almost funny hearing this from you, because this is nothing like the bloke that you used to be. And then she gets really angry. She's like, go on, you just leave me alone like everyone else does. Obviously, she's starting to get some feelings for him. She's kind of trying to mask it, but she's just going angry at him. She's going, go on, go off and do your own thing. And then she starts to call him swear words. And just in the middle of calling him a bastard, he just grabs a tit. Just grabs a boob, handful of boob, and it just throws her off track. Stops her right in her tracks while she's having a go at him. And it really made me chuckle, and I don't know why. I completely forgot that Griffith had been captured. That's what they're trying to do at the minute, innit? Casca and Guts are going to go and try and free Griffith. And I was only reminded because I've just started the chapter Infiltrating Wyndham, and there's like a couple of pages where Griffith is obviously tied up and he's talking about like how he keeps going on, and it seems like he's got a weird obsession with Guts, because he goes on to talk about the fact that everyone else has ever come across in life either think one thing about him or the other, and whatever they think, he knows how to manipulate them. But with Guts, he doesn't. He doesn't understand why Guts has got such a strong hold over him, which through a spanner in works for me, because I thought that Griffith only really wanted Guts because he's right hard, got a massive sword, he can swing things, and Griffith wants to hold a lot of power over the place where he lives, and Guts could help him gain power. But it seems like he's a bit of a fanboy of Guts. Okay, so Charlotte exists. I completely forgot about her. I wish I'd left a shorter gap between reading volume 9 and picking up this. The only issue I had was I didn't have volume 10 until I was kindly gifted this deluxe edition, which has just meant that there's been a longer gap than I would have preferred, and I've forgot quite a few things. So I've been reintroduced to Charlotte, who is the future queen, I believe. She has actually let them in, let Guts and his crew in to this keep to be able to try and free Griffith. I do feel sorry for Lass. I actually think she's going to get shit on a little bit by Griffith. I think he's manipulating her to basically get what he wants. Casca has alluded to that point, that she's worried that Charlotte is just really a pawn in Griffith's game, and I think that's probably going to happen. But I feel sorry for Lass because she seems like she's got an heart of gold, bless her. So she's let him into the keep. They're about to go on this mad mish and let Griffith free. Obviously, Guts is still having his internal struggles about where he stands with Griffith. I think he's got some sort of attachment to him as well. Although he wants to go and do his own thing, I think he still feels somewhat loyal to Griffith. So, really enjoyed that. And then we've skipped to a bit with this young lad. I forgot where his name is, but it's a young lad who's in a village that Guts was in previously. And he's gone out into this woodland area and he's seen one of them Tinkerbell looking things. I think it's an elf, but it looks a bit more like a fairy, like a flying little thing. He's seen that, and I think you're about to run back to the village, but as he's got back there, there's this big ugly thing with massive teeth that's just got this human hanging out its mouth, and then it zooms out, and there's, oh, it's vile. It's really, really ugly. But it got me thinking, I don't know what these are. I know in previous books, Guts has had some scraps with some ugly looking things as well, but I kind of just read them and didn't consider where they are. I am thinking that they're like otherworldly. If I remember rightly, in a previous book, there's like, not hell, but maybe a different realm where there were a picture of Griffith and like 3 or 4 other right hard looking characters. And I've not really thought about that until now. I'm wondering if Griffith long term ends up being like that powerful that he ends up in this place, and maybe that these creatures are coming in between that place and the real world. Because this little young lad, I forgot what his name is, I wish I could tell you. You know him, right? If you've read it already, young blonde lad, he saw the fairy and was like, no, they can't exist. And then he said this big ugly thing, and he's like, what on earth is that? This cannot be real. So obviously it's not normal for these sort of things to be on their world. I'm guessing it's Earth. I'm going to call it Earth for now. So that is something that I've got a lot of questions about that I wanted to document, because these videos ain't just for you. I like to look back on these and hopefully when I do rereads and stuff, answer unanswered questions, and also look at my naive self in the past and go, huh, boy, you don't know what's coming. So yeah, bloody loving it so far, right good. I'll be honest, I ain't got a clue what's going on, and I'm going to record it because I feel like these videos are best done if they're genuine, and at the minute I'm genuinely confused as to what's happening. So next page after we'd spoke, this blonde lad's just rocked back up at village and everyone is dead. They're all sent to Jesus. There's a massive pile of them and I ain't got a clue who's killed them. On the previous page, there were a bit of dialogue that says you shouldn't have time to amuse yourself with slaughter in a place like this. And there's a picture of that elf-looking thing and this skull-looking creature, like a massive skull thing, and then some weird spider-looking, ugly-ass creatures, some big dude with a face that looks a bit like mine, like a swollen face with teeth below his head, and no idea. I ain't got a clue. I know there's a lot of people dead. I don't know why they've killed the people. I don't know if they're doing it for a game. Who knows? It's a mystery. Oh my goodness. That was insane. They found Griffith in the bottom of this dungeon and he's lost loads of weight. You don't really know what's happened. He's just substantially thinner and unhealthier than when they last saw him. There were a really cool story about the potential of another world under this place where Griffith's hid. But yeah, I mean, if that comes into fruition, we'll deal with that later. But when they found Griffith, this big Quasimodo-looking fella locked him in the dungeon where they'd found Griffith and was like, I'm locking you in, I'm going to ring King, and I'm going to torture you all. And then Guts is like, were it you that did this to Griffith? So then he goes into this horrible, gory detail about how he peeled skin off him and saw his flesh, cut his tendons in his arms and legs so he couldn't run away, just mocking all of them, saying how much fun he'd had with Griffith, how much time they spent together, how he stopped him from dying so that he could torture him even more, and how he was the most beautiful thing he'd ever tortured and ruined. And then he's almost mocking and taunting them all, saying, look, there's no point in you getting angry about it because you can't get through this door anyway. There's nothing you can do. This door is 4 times thicker than a normal door. So he's going to have to bear with, wait for the King and die. And you can just see this build-up of anger in Guts. He's fuming. He's already like really trying to nurse Griffith, and you can see that he's got that attachment to him. And then out of nowhere, poof, just smashes through this door with his sword and just kebab skewers this big Quasimodo thing straight through his chest. It's just, go on, Guts. I've just had to stop for a few minutes. I've just read and seen some things that are just really uncomfortable. Even for me, I've got a pretty strong stomach when it comes to books, and I've read a lot of dark fantasy in the past, but that was horrible. I'm going to backtrack a little bit, because since we last spoke, I've slept and I've read a bit more. When they were in that dungeon place and they'd say Griffith, loads of people turned up and basically Guts just went berserk. Huh, yeah, that's the name of the book. And just hacked and slashed his way through every single one of them, got outside, and the leader of the band of people that were trying to stop him basically said, look, he's tired, you need to go. And everyone was like, nah, mate, he's mental. This is all you. And he was like, I'll show you. And then before he had a chance, Guts just lobbed his head off. They then carried on for a little bit, and that was basically the end of Volume 10. Really, really enjoyed Volume 10. I think it focused a lot on everybody's just absolute loyalty to Griffith, and everyone in that book seemed to be just doing stuff for him, which frustrates me because I think they're all blindlessly loyal, and he's probably going to shit on them all because he only cares about himself. Then we get into Volume 11, and Volume 11 starts dark. You are introduced to a new band. The King's still on this mad rampage. He can't let it go. and he employs a band of criminals called the Black Dog Knights to go and get Griffith. And even his soldiers are like, do we really have to use these? These are just like brutal. The king then tells the story of how they came about, who they are, and they're a band of criminals who are sent out to fight in wars, but he sends them like to the outskirts of wars, so no one really knows what they do, and they just go around killing everything, just aimlessly, raping and just torturing in the most horrific ways. Some of the art that you see in this part of the book is gross. Is the best way I can describe it. It's art that I don't think I can necessarily put on here. I don't think the video will do very well at all if I put it on here. It might even get taken down. But we then get to a scene where it skips back to Griffith and Guts and Casca, and they're in this little village and they manage to find some help. And this community of people are like, look, we don't believe what the castle are saying about you. We don't believe that you would commit treason, so we're going to help you. They give them horses and they send them on their way. And then this band of criminals turn up in this village and they basically say, look, have you seen a group of people? And it then skips to what happens to this community that have helped Griffith escape. And it's disgusting. The only thing I could really say to you, and I know it's annoying when you're watching this thinking like, what does he talk about, what's happened? If you've read it, you already know. If you haven't read it, you're gonna have to read it if you want to see it, I guess. But there's heads rolling, rape, child mutilation. It's really, really, really dark stuff. I was warned before I went into this series that it's dark, and it really is. It doesn't put me off reading. I don't think it necessarily adds to the story because of how dark it is. On one hand it does, because this sort of stuff happens in war. Unfortunately, even in my lifetime, some of the stories you've heard about stuff that happened in Middle East, when we went out there, the things that we did as soldiers, it's terrifying. I guess it is necessary because it really does dive into the depravity of war and the things that we can do as humans when rules and consequence are removed. But it's a really uncomfortable viewing, and I think that's a credit to the author of the book, who I believe also does the art, because the art really does feel real. It's the first time I've, in this book, felt uncomfortable viewing something. Yeah, not nice. It's almost so gross that I want to laugh, like uncomfortably laugh. So the bit that I just spoke to you about, on the page, you basically see loads of spears and spikes and bodies impaled on these spikes, bodies of women, naked women, which was bad enough. And then you scroll to the next page, and this band of criminals are on horseback, and it's their spears and spikes that they're carrying on horses with these impaled bodies, running into battle, and then using these spears with humans on them and throwing them at the enemy. 'Tis mental. 'Tis horrible. It's just, who'd think of this? There's a little bit of a mini battle, and then you're shown this beast dog looking leader. He's got a name but I forgot it, of this band. And I think we've seen him in a previous book. I want to say that he had a fight with maybe Griffith. It weren't Guts, I don't think it were anyway. So we already know that he's hard as nails, but he's just had his first fight with Guts, and for the first time in Guts' life he's been beaten, I guess. He goes to swing his sword at him, and this dude's just like, pff, grabs his hand. It's like, nah, mate. Makes Guts look weak. Makes him look so weak, and then Guts is having problems. He's like, what's going on here? This has never happened before. What do I do? So they just turn and run, which is class, because Guts did say to Casca before I went into this battle, I've learnt my lessons. I now know that if I'm losing, I can run. And he did, he ran. But this dude's going to be a problem because he's hard as nails. So far in this series, every time someone's come up, I'm just like, Guts has got this. He's just going to hack and slash, get through them. But I don't know what he's going to do when it comes against somebody that's stronger than he is, because this dude is. Oh my god! Guts is like full battle now with this weird dog-looking thing, and I think I got it wrong. I don't know if I did come across this thing earlier. I think it might have been Zod, which was the other massive hard-looking thing that Guts fought in the past, because this character has just mentioned that Zod had mentioned that they were basically a nuisance in the Band of the Hawk, and that's Guts. So, I don't know. Tell me in comments. Maybe I have seen this character in the past. I've just forgotten. But anyway, battle scenes are crazy. One critique that I mentioned that I had before is that the art in this book, for me, when I first started reading, felt quite congested. There was a lot going on, a lot of shading, dark lines, and it just felt a lot, especially considering it was the first manga that I had read. But because I'm now like 30 volumes in, I have learned just to read it better and to view it better. And when you take your time with this series and you look at each panel individually, the detail is insane. Like the battle scenes, each character, each person was well thought out. Different facial expressions, different facial features, just different things happening, and it just builds a battle like nothing else I've come across. It is so good. I'm going to shut up now. I just wanted to say them thoughts because I need to see what's going to happen. I can't see how Guts is going to beat this dude, because every time Guts tries to swipe him, he's just grabbing his sword, and it's just like, dude, this is just like child's play. So someone's got to intervene. Maybe Casca will come to help him, but somebody's got to help him. The rest of the Band of the Hawk have turned up, so they've got them firing arrows at everyone. But it's just this big dude, this dog dude is a problem. I don't know how they're going to solve it. That's one of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen. I'm still mid-battle. I've still got thoughts. The big dog thing, I don't know what his name is. I should probably like Google it or something so I can tell you. But you know what I'm on about if you've read it. Guts has just gone to swipe his sword in this dude's face, and he's just opened his mouth, caught the sword in his mouth, and while he's got hold of Guts' sword, he's punched Guts' horse in face and knocked him off his horse. How badass is that? I've got a prediction. The eclipse is coming. There was a mention about a year ago. Guts came up against someone and they'd warned him basically that there was death coming. I don't think it's Guts' death, but there's going to be some death, and I think Guts has initially took it as his own death. But this eclipse has just been mentioned again. This dog-headed thing has just said, this was meant to be a light snack. I was meant to play with you, but I think I'm just going to take it all. I'm not going to wait for the eclipse. I did a little bit of Googling before I started reading this series, and I saw that there's different arcs. I think this arc is now coming towards an end. I think the first, or at least volumes like 3 to 14, are the Golden Age arc, and then after that there's another arc. So I'm expecting something humongous to happen, because I'm now on volume 11. So I've got 11, 12, 13, and I think 14, and then this concludes the Golden Age arc. Something humongous is going to happen. I don't know what it is, but I think it's something to do with otherworldly monsters and beasts and stuff maybe coming to Earth and having like a big battle or trying to take over or something. There's Tyrone's prediction. Goodness. If Guts weren't fucked before, he is now. What has this thing just turned into? This. What is this? What is that? What are you meant to do with that? Like, Guts was struggling to fight this thing here. Just this. When it was a man, dog thing, and now it's this. And it's got abs. What? Ain't no way. I doubted Guts. He did it. 1 minute. He basically, oh gosh, he got his massive sword, and that big thing were like just doing his thing. But Guts' sword's massive. It's like this, but bigger. And then he basically just jumped on him and was like, one last chance. It's this or nothing. And then he come down on him and was like, Kyo! straight to his face. And other dude's like, oh, I'm choking. And then Guts like laid on floor. And then Casca comes running to him with her boobs out. And she's like cuddling him and stuff. One thing's for sure. If you want Guts to turn it up a level, mess about with Casca and he's going to find a hidden strength. Do not mess with that woman because Guts will fuck you up. Volume 2 done. And that were a right good crescendo. I don't know what to say, really. A lot happened. That big, massive, flying, dragon-looking thing, Zog, his name's not Zog, but he's got a weird name, that Guts fought in past, came back. Because it turns out, that animal thing that Guts stabbed through the neck weren't actually dead. So started going on this mad rampage again and killing loads of people. And then Guts were like, oh, you're kidding me. Come back out, and in a previous chapter, someone had seen this thing flying in the sky and they were like, what's that? Turns out it was that Zod thing. So this Zod comes down as they're all about to scrap again and then starts talking about the like 4 gods. There's mention of 4 gods. And I'm guessing that that's these characters that I saw earlier on in the series that Griffith was stood with, because they mention that Griffith is the 5th one. And obviously the Golden Age, I think that's the arc that I'm in at the minute, is in the past. And I know in future that I've seen Griffith with these super beings, gods, whatever they are. So he comes down and basically says he's the 5th one. He's like, no, he can't be. He's not got the thing on him. You know, that he's got like an amulet with like an eye and a nose and stuff on him. He's not got that on him. So this is what I think is happening now. That there is another realm, because that big monster that I showed you pictures of, that were like eating people with its face and stuff, Quasimodo looking thing, that got sucked through a portal to, I'm guessing, this other world where these 4 gods are. And Griffith is obviously going to end up either being one of them or is one of them already. So there is another realm. And these creatures or monsters or whatever that Guts keep coming across, where everyone's like, what on earth is this? I reckon they're coming from that place. I just don't know yet what that place is or why it exists. They keep mentioning the eclipse and that the eclipse is coming. I don't know what it is. I'm going to guess that it might be an opening of some sort of portal where all these creatures can come through to Earth and just take over. I think I've made that prediction a couple of times now. So if that don't come true, then I'm just crap. So really enjoyed that. Volume 11. Kind of gutted because I'm coming to the end of this book. I've only got now that much left. And then that's volume 12 done. And I don't have the next volume and to be able to continue straight away. That's what's frustrating me about this series. That's why I'm taking it slow. But these volumes are like 35 quid. So they're not cheap. I'll save up. I'm going to read this anyway. Enjoy the moment. I'll sulk after. I'm going to enjoy the moment. Read the last volume in this one. And I think something huge is going to happen, because I know that I'm coming towards the end now of the Golden Age arc and into the next arc, whatever that is. So something humongous is going to happen, and I ain't got a clue what it is. I know that it's about to kick off, and I know that I'm not ready for it. I've got about 50 pages left of volume 12. I'm right at the end of the book. I just kept reading. I didn't want to stop to record. But I think I've got quite a few things wrong. So these monster god things that I spoke about before, I think they are demons because they've rocked up. Griffith has managed to find some sort of strength, and he's found himself in the middle of this field, and he's got that, I think it's called a behelit or something like that, that necklace that he had on with nose and eyes and mouth and stuff. It turns out that that is a device that can be used to change people from humans into them monsters that I keep coming into. But also, if you've got a special one, which Griffith's is, you can use that to change yourself into like a demon god. But to do so, you've got to sacrifice. These 3 god-looking things, one looks like Majin Buu, one looks like Medusa with her boobs out, and then you've got this Count Dracula thing with a brain for an head and a skull for a face. Just odd-looking creatures. They are talking about the fact that it's almost prophesied, this is already set in stone, that Griffith is going to sacrifice everybody, and once he's made that sacrifice, he can then become like a demon god. I don't think that's going to happen, because if it did, there wouldn't be any future books. I'm going to carry on reading now. I'm going to check in with you soon. You sure as shit better not be making any sacrifices, though. That is the most stupid, anger-inducing ending to any book I've ever read in my entire life. Just finished volume 12, and it finishes on the most minging cliffhanger in the existence of humanity. It is ridiculous. So there's this sacrifice. All of these demons seem to have been dragged through a portal. That behelit, whatever it's called, that necklace, has brought them all back, and it seems like it's just time to chow down and for these to have an all-you-can-eat. Every like 230 years or so, this thing happens, this eclipse, and there is a sacrifice that's going to be made, and today's sacrifice is Griffith sacrificing everybody. I don't know what to expect next. I didn't know what to expect when I found out it was going to happen, but it goes into Griffith's backstory, and when it went into that, so many jigsaw pieces kind of fit together. I was like, how did I not see this? I knew he was a master manipulator, and I knew that he'd do something rotten, but I didn't expect this. His whole life has accumulated to this moment, and it seems like he's going to be willing to sacrifice everything to get power. They keep talking about this like castle, and when they draw the pictures, there's like a castle in the sky, and basically saying this has been your dream since you were a kid. You've walked over tens of thousands of enemies' bodies, thousands of comrades' bodies to get to this point. Are you really going to let this group of people now stop you from getting to where you need to get to? They offer him an opportunity to sacrifice the Band of the Hawks, including Guts, including Casca, including Pippin. And once he agrees to sacrifice them, it can then become whatever it is that is next for him, whether it is like a demonic god. I still don't fully understand what's happening with that. But right at the end of that story, it appears to scream out sacrifice, which is what they need to be able to go ahead and just chow down on all these people. And they do. These demons just start eating the Band of the Hawks, chucking them in the mouth and just chopping them up. And then it ends. Just stops mid-chow down, and I don't know what's coming next. And I cannot explain the anger that is built up inside of me, because I don't own the next volume, and I don't know what's about to happen. I've been on Vinted. I have got some books that I've sold on Vinted, waiting for the balance to clear, so I'll keep an eye out on there. But I need volume 13 now. It is such a stinking cliffhanger, and I get why the author did it, because God, when these books came out live, if these were coming out weekly at the time, that is a way to guarantee a sale for book 13. Really, really, really enjoyed these three volumes, 10, 11 and 12. Up there with one of the best reading experiences I've ever had. But boy, it's stressful. It is a tough read. It is gritty. It's real. There's not many happy moments. And I'm hopeful. I love hope. And this story just is slowly dragging all the hope out of me, which I'm not used to. I'm ever the optimist. I don't know what to do now. Really, really don't know what to do. I feel like this video is going to kind of end on a bit of a downer, but this is real, it's raw, it's honest. This is how I feel. I've really enjoyed that book, and I cannot wait for years down the line when I get to reread this again and make more sense of everything I'm going through. But God, I am damn annoyed that I can't just jump straight into the next bit and figure out what's happened to all the cast that I've slowly started to fall in love with. If you've watched till this point, I love you the most, and I mean this more than ever. I am excited to have you along for the next one, because that will be as soon as I can get my hands on that book. You best believe the second I get my hands on the next Berserk volume, whatever I'm reading stops and Berserk starts. What a reading experience. I will see you in the next one.